Alright, I am animating a head turn of the Freddy character, and I'm just trying to figure out the basic shapes here. I drew a bunch of information here. Well, my animation partner drew this little thumbnail up here to just get the two ideas in for the two poses. What basically this is going to be is like that Halloween movie, the Nightmare Before Christmas. There's that mayor character who has a happy face and a sad face, and he twirls in between these two different faces. So that's kind of the main idea I have going here, and I drew a bunch of information off to the side. Kind of might not make sense, but basically it's just like a quick timing chart for myself to remember that I want the head swooshing in fast, and it'll overshoot to the side, and then I'll ease back in towards the middle, and then it'll zoom out and twirl around. And then over here, just drew a note that I'm gonna have the hat kind of fall, and there'll be some characters underneath the hat. So let's see, I'm supposed to be streaming on YouTube. Oh, okay, I'm new to all this April foolishness. So anyways, I'm just kind of figuring out what I'm doing on this. So I'm basically just gonna zoom in a little bit, and this little line down here, so just gonna get rid of that drawing. This little line down here is just like a really just basic arc to keep in mind how I want the nose going. So the nose is kind of, in a way, the leading action, because the nose is gonna dip down on the head turn. Could just draw the nose animated straight ahead, like perfectly even, but that tends to look a little bit boring, and so it just feels better to have things either arc up or arc down on the head turn. So right now I'm just kind of flipping in between these frames, not really using my light box because it's harder to get the composition in. I'm just gonna kind of get some basic shapes in. This doesn't have to be pretty, this is just a rough animation. And I know the snout is kind of like this oval shape, so I'm just gonna draw an oval, and I can articulate the shape when I'm going over it on a tie down pose. I'm tying down the shapes, so no biggie. For now it's just trying to define the general motion and get these shapes to morph into each other nicely. And this guy's eyes are gonna be glowing, so that's why I drew them red over here, just kind of so I don't forget. And I don't really know that much about Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. This is just a loop I had someone wanted me to make for them, and my animation partner sent me references because she's more into the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. But these are basically the two key poses of the scary face, and I'll pretty much use these positions as reference for when I draw the happy face up here, the less scary happy face. And I know, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do something before I forget, because I know I'm gonna have this pushed out more. So I'm just gonna draw the frame before here and get the chin going down more, so he's kind of screaming before he goes into this pose. I'm basically gonna be easing in and out of some of these main poses here. And another loop for this particular client that they had in mind was to have these shadowy silhouettes of the different Five Nights at Freddy's monsters morphing into each other. So it'd be like that bird character, and then it'll turn into a shadowy blob and morph into another character. And this particular loop, I haven't, obviously gotten even close to the coloring phase. Do that after everything's cleaned up. But basically, the light source is going to be coming from below the character, so that it'll be kind of ominous. So you can imagine the lights will be like coming from, the lights will be coming from like below, so it'll have kind of like a creepy feeling to it when it's all lit up. But basically just working with a lot of oval shapes for this character. And should be Pokemon music. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm still trying to figure out this OBS situation, but there should be some background Pokemon type cafe music. So let me know if you can hear that. Figure it's probably good to have something happening when I'm not talking, because sometimes I go non-verbal to concentrate on what I'm doing. But yeah, you can see the happy faces over here. So he'll just be in the shadows on this particular pose. But I'm gonna have him be stretching up just a little bit. We'll get some squash and stretch on this face, make it more alive. I guess these characters are like animatronics, but I think the way I'm drawing it is more like if it were a creepy Disney character. Like maybe it's not puppet or a machine anymore. Maybe this is like if it were turned into a biological creature. Something about this drawing's looking a little derpy. So something I like to do is just flip it horizontally. Sometimes I can catch some of my April foolishness. Barry Ryan says he hears no music. Oh, okay. Bummer. Well, at least you can hear me talking. I did turn it down super low. Yeah, whenever I flip it horizontally, normally I notice some weird things about the eyes. And the eyes are like the first thing people will feel if the eyes feel wrong. Because this is what we naturally look at. We immediately look at the eyes. So if you're gonna spend a little extra time on something, it should be the eyes, since that is the focal point of the face. Unless you're like me and avoid eye contact at all costs. Boom, boom. Whoop. Whee. So like, yeah, these keyframes are like kind of what everything is built on. So just want to make sure that they don't suck. Have the chin coming up. So now his face is kind of squashing down a little bit. Not like a ton of cartoony squash, but it's just that the face is going to be compressing downwards as it comes into this head-on shape. That way we can go into this stretch. If the face was stretched the entire time on the head turn, then there'd be no contrast. So animation is all about contrast between images and poses. The more contrast you have, the more motion you have. If you have zero contrast, then you have zero animation. But it's all a matter of how much you want. It's like volume, putting your guitar into an amp. You don't necessarily want to turn it up to 10 all the time. Sometimes you want to have more quiet moments, and then sometimes there's the time to turn on the distortion pedal. And that's kind of like how I think of squash and stretch is like a distortion pedal, where you're distorting the image for more impact. And the principle of anticipation, where you anticipate going into a motion, the more anticipation you have, the more squash and stretch you can have. But if you have no anticipation, then it doesn't really make sense to have a ton of squash and stretch, because the anticipation is like building up the energy to go into those squashed or stretched poses. But once I get some of these keyframes in, I'll start doing more breakdowns or in-betweens, and I'm just gonna be not adding as many details like the teeth. I'll go in later and do that on a separate pass, and I'm just gonna be focusing on getting the skull and the jaw, just the general face shape in, and then go in and add the features. I find sometimes with animating, if you try to do everything all at once, you can kind of lose the flow of it. Whereas if you just focus on one kind of main thing at a time, and you can scrub in between the frames and really see how it's all working. So just go with the biggest shapes first, get the biggest shapes working, and then you can focus on all the little smaller parts that articulate the detail around the bigger shapes. Just flip this little guy horizontally. Notice any weirdness. But yeah, I might figure out a way to, if I'm happy with this loop, repurpose the roughs and like make a different character over it, because obviously this Freddy character is like, it's IP, it's copyrighted, so obviously I can't sell it. But I guess for doing a commission, I guess that's kind of a grayish area, I'm not sure. I know people do commissions of like fan art stuff, so I think it's more like if you're selling it on products maybe. But like, I've gone onto Etsy and I see a bunch of shops of people selling Pokemon or different popular characters on mugs and clothing and prints and all that. That seems very risky. I guess probably the worst thing that would happen, well, not the worst thing that would happen, but probably the first thing, bad thing that would happen is you'd get a warning, and then maybe your shop would get shut down. I guess if you kept doing it, then you could get into legal problems. I don't know if this one's gonna have whiskers. I don't think this character has whiskers, but you might know more than me. I'm pretty sure he just has little stubs. At least I'm looking at the reference picture, and I don't know. It looks like he just has 3 little polka dots, but I might not even draw that on here either. Okay. Get the hat in here. He's got like one of those cool little top hats. Just kind of coming over the front of his forehead. Just gonna draw like an oval up here. There we go. Sometimes it helps to draw a little 3D shape to get the feeling in. I think I'm looking at a reference of the scary version. It says weathered version. Yeah. These pupils are feeling a little funky. Okay. Then I think when I'm gonna have him twirling around all crazy, we're gonna have him kind of turn into a shadow, and there'll be like a bunch of eyes and teeth smearing around, and then the hat's gonna come off and fall down slowly. That's kind of, I think, how I'm gonna deal with that problem. So I know when he's coming out here, this backwards face is gonna be coming towards us a little bit. Just get the eye will be kind of coming towards us a little bit. I wonder if it would be cool if the eyeball looked at us. I don't know. I don't know about that. What do you think? Do you think the happy bear, his eye should be kind of doing a side eye at us? Like that? Or is that stupid? Yes, these are anti-blue light glasses. I'm going to the eye doctor soon. My vision has gotten progressively worse. Guess when he's head on like this. Okay, so now I know when he comes in here, I'm gonna have him going really a lot slower, kind of going to the side here, looking off to this side, and he's gonna kind of slow down, and then zoom out in this direction and do a twirl into his next pose. So I think I'll have the nose dip down a little bit more. And then slightly start to come up. And slow down, ease in to a stop. It's like basically coming to a full stop. Let's see here. And then he's gonna zoom out. And then basically start to zoom out. So we'll get a feeling for the timing just by looking at the nose here. Okay. And obviously gonna add in-betweens and stuff to get the timing better. The reason I'm flipping instead of using onion skinning is because for doing these key poses, it's a lot easier for me to get like the main shapes in and make sure the composition looks okay. If you have the onion skinning on the whole time, it's too distracting because you have all those other lines that makes it hard. So, but then obviously once I start doing like in-betweens where you have to have tight spacing, then yeah, I'll put the onion skinning on. I think I'm just gonna kind of draw some little lines here for the arcs of the eyes. Maybe I'll have his eyebrows start to go down. Something. Well, first, I'm actually gonna get this snout in. I'm also kind of contradicting what I said earlier about having the onion skinning off, but for this, since I'm having stuff ease in, I want to make sure that the previous frames are slowing down. So I'm putting my light box or onion skinning on to show the previous 3 frames so that I can relate these lines next to each other and get a gradual slow down so that the end of the snout here is slowing down. So there's one in between, second one, third one. So it's kind of doing an even spacing right now. And now I'm gonna start making it get tighter, get closer together. So now it's really getting a lot slower. So we can kind of see here how that would be. This one over just a tiny bit. And as this nose is actually going in this direction, I'm gonna have the tip of this snout or the cheek still going in this direction, and that's the follow through. Since I'm imagining this part of the nose is a little bit more flabby, the cheek or the flabby part of the snout is going to take a little bit of time to catch up to the rest of the nose. So this will make it feel more fleshy. And now the snout is going to be stretching a little bit and really stretching as it picks up speed and compressing, getting skinnier and longer. Because if you're going faster, then it'll get skinnier and longer. But if it's getting pushed down, well, never mind. I have to focus for a second. Okay. Do a little save. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Boyd Pop. Okay. Kind of trying to think here. Oh, I think I know what I'm gonna do here. So, okay. I have an idea. So yeah, a lot of my process with animating is very improvising, kind of like playing jazz with it. But I'll start out with like the keyframes or some thumbnails just as a guiding light. But then I like to kind of just see what happens. So now I'm actually gonna have the eyes, the pupils are gonna look in the direction he's about to go to anticipate that motion. So I know I'm gonna have him like right about here. The pupils are gonna start looking in the direction he's about to go. And I know I'm gonna want the eyebrows to be kind of looking down. So we'll have his eyebrows start to go down more. Almost over the pupils to give him a more sinister look. Now, I'll definitely have to adjust this once I get the other drawings around it. But it can be helpful to have your character look in the direction he's about to go as like a sort of mini anticipation, because it tells the viewer the eye line and the motion path the character is likely to take. I'll have the eyes start to, and this eye will squash down almost like a goopy egg. Hi, AkiDB. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, I want the eyebrows to kind of more be cohesive following the swooping shape. So I know I'll just go ahead and kind of roughen the top of these eyebrows as the guiding shape for the eyes to follow. Alright, let's get a little save in here. And get a feel for how this is feeling so far. Have you tried Grease Pencil Tool and Blender? Not yet. I really want to though. I have been making some 3D kind of tunnel loops in Blender though. It's a lot you can do in that program. But I'm working in TV Paint, saving up for Toon Boom, and I'm trying to figure out how to do Moho, because you can do puppet animation in there. But I also want to use Moho to make like really 3D looking camera movements through 2D assets, because you can do a lot of more advanced camera stuff in there that I can't do in TV Paint as easily. And of course on Blender you can texture map hand-drawn or 2D painted backgrounds onto 3D objects. So that's another thing that I would really like to learn and incorporate 3D in service of 2D animation. Not to replace it, but as a means of amplifying the capabilities and things that are much more difficult to do in 2D, like fully animated backgrounds with more complex camera movements that it would be much more tedious to do in 2D. Just give a little arc for the pupils. Gotta turn this guide lighting off for just a little bit. I find sometimes with eyes it's easier to build out from this kind of more center part. So like just start with this inside part and kind of get it matched up to how it would be in relation to the nose, and then build the rest of the eye off of the innard part. It's easier to get the form, it feels like, than if you were to just try to draw the complete eye while you're animating. But I'm not always consistent with the things I'm saying. I kind of just, like I said, go off of feeling. It's like I'm not really thinking right now. Well, obviously I'm thinking, but I'm not like thinking with words or really concepts. It's more just like feeling it. And as you notice things, you can kind of correct course, but trying not to be too editorial right now. It's more just about getting the motion in, and it's all rough right now. And then you can turn the editor part of your brain on when you take a little breather and you come back, and then you can correct stuff. But if you're too critical during this like first pass of rough animation, that can really slow you down and trip you up. I guess it's kind of similar to the writing process, how they say you shouldn't be focusing on editing on the rough draft. A lot of similarities. The eyebrows are gonna be coming down here. Oh, I know there's some issues right here. These eyebrows kind of not easing into each other. Here we go. The eyes kind of come in. Okay. So the next kind of big in between would be in between these two poses. Just draw a little motion path for this nose here. Go basically in the middle. So this particular client, they said basically it shouldn't exactly be Freddy Bear. It should be a Freddy Bear-ish character, but basically Freddy Bear, but not exactly, cause all their characters, their Five Nights at Freddy's little videos they do, all the characters are more or less the real characters, but they're changed just a little bit so that it's not as obvious that they're the exact same characters. So that's why I'm making this character just a little bit, tiny bit different. Like the real one has like square teeth, but I'm giving this one more pointy teeth and making him less like a robot animatronic and more like a living creature, just a little bit. But it still needs to be obvious that it's, you know, the Freddy character. I'm just kind of lining up a bunch of client loops right now. Slightly overwhelmed, but it's better to have a lot of projects than have absolutely nothing going on. But I basically have like 3 loops with this client that wants all the Five Nights at Freddy stuff, and then I have 6 custom loops of these goopy instruments that will also be part of a music video with another musician. And then I have 2 little custom character loops doing a walk cycle, and one's a ghost flying around for a musician who wants all his characters kind of turned into like gorillas. Not gorillas, but the band, the Gorillas, how they have all their animated characters as their sort of avatars. So it's a similar concept to that. And then I'm just animating some miscellaneous smaller loops for just random people, like based off of their little sketches or ideas. One's of a snake eating itself, shedding its skin. And then I have another band that wants 5 custom loops of themselves as animated rubber hose style cartoon characters playing their instruments, and they actually had all the artwork as PSD files to send me. So if I knew how to use Moho, that could be a potential use of that program to just animate the assets that I was sent as puppet animation. But it looks like I'll have to do some kind of potentially hybrid of moving some of the assets, some of the limbs and head around in TV Paint, but then animate other aspects of it frame by frame. So kind of do like a hybrid approach, because TV Paint really doesn't have any puppet like rigging capabilities. I know the newest version does, but it's like very baby version of it. but I guess it's better than nothing. But yeah, I'd like to learn just as many different forms of animation, because different styles and animation programs can be used as problem-solving machines that are more equipped to handle with different animation problems. Because like every animation project is like a jigsaw puzzle where you have to figure out how to get all the pieces to connect, and some programs are better equipped at handling different types of scenarios. Like for what I'm doing right now, this probably wouldn't work in puppet animation really, to have things that are more morphing around, and like you have a lot more control over each individual frame if you draw it hand by hand or frame by frame. You have control over every line, and there's certain imperfections that come about that add a certain charm that is very hard to replicate in other types of animation styles or processes. But then there's some things like that just make sense to do it more with the puppet style, more practical, and it even kind of looks better if you're doing it with a rigged character. Like if you were to animate like machinery or something, it's like, yes, you could animate that frame by frame, but not only would it be super time consuming, the animation is likely to be more inconsistent and janky, which I guess can have a certain charm to it, but it's also like you only have so many hours in the day, and like if you don't have a trillion people working on your project, then you kind of need to figure out ways to not take forever on things. So I'm following one animation tutorial a day on Moho, and just like 5-minute tutorials on YouTube, and I kind of recommend that if you're wanting to learn something. Just instead of like, you know, spending a bunch of money on some like college course right away, just see if you if it's something you're interested in, just by doing some free tutorials and spending some time with it. And you might even find that that's all you needed to do to get started. And of course, so much of learning comes from actually making things, learning from trial and error. But like when I'm on a project, sometimes it's hard to invest time onto learning new things, because it feels like I need to be working on the thing that I was paid to work on. And so that's why just doing like even like 5 to 10 minutes a day, it's like, well, of course you have time for that. I just watch it while I'm eating lunch. Whew. And give it a little save and stand up and stretch for a second. Oh man. Doobie doo. Oh man. Oof. No, it's the 360 rotation. He's anticipating the head turn, and then it's gonna turn around and it's gonna show the happy face. I have it in my mind. Oh. Oh. Oy. But I'm definitely not gonna finish it on this one stream. It's gonna tilt down. And then when he does the head turn, the hat is gonna pop up. It's gonna jump up and do like a little spin and slowly fall back on his head. And there'll be like a little character underneath the hat. Here it'll pop up. It'll all make sense someday. Once the cell shaded lighting is in, I think it'll look more cool, more atmospheric. I think there is music in the background. I just have it turned down really low because I checked it on my laptop and I feel like I could hear super duper faint music. Oh, you can hear the music with headphones. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate the feedback. I think the top of the hat actually could kind of be shown as he comes down. Just draw a line here. This oval represents the top of the hat, like it's tilted down at us. Then it'll flip perspective. The top of the hat will be arcing in the opposite direction. Okay. This is all gonna make sense one day. Do I also stream anywhere else? Yeah, I normally just stream on, well, okay, this person's asking on Instagram, but I'm streaming on YouTube. It's kind of the place I'm streaming Mikey Buzan animation on YouTube. And then I'll just set up my phone camera sometimes and stream it on TikTok or Instagram. But the stream will be uploaded even after the stream is over. It'll be all the streams I do will be available on my YouTube channel. And sometimes I stream on my other YouTube channel, Animated Loop, if I'm just doing like a non-talking stream, if I'm just like coloring stuff. But for the most part, I'm kind of just trying to stream on my main channel. I've just decided I want to start streaming my process more. It's kind of fun to have it as a reference too, to see what I was working on a certain day. And I can download the YouTube video and make a time lapse of it Whereas if I was screen recording this on my computer, this file would be many, many gigabytes big. And it would sometimes slow down my animation program. But I usually don't stream when I'm working, just like sometimes. A lot of times it would be super tedious. Like, I'll show you, this is one I was working on. I streamed like the keyframes of this, but I didn't stream doing all the in-betweens, and I spent many hours just doing the in-betweens and like kind of cleaning it up, which would have been kind of pointless to stream. But yeah, I'm working on some music note loops as well. I'll show you the other one I have here. It's like this one. I don't really know what this particular thing is called, but I'm just trying to take all the different music notes and do funny, weird little things with them. And I think that'll be good for music videos and music editors to it's like a bunch of, like any music can work with music notes. Doesn't particularly matter about the genre. This is another one that morphs in between. I think it's called like the 8th note or whatever. I don't know. And then the one where there's 2 of them. And then I'll probably do a stream potentially where I'm gonna cell shade all these, even though that might be kind of boring. But maybe it'll be interesting for people to see the cell shaded process. Although I have some cell shading tutorials and streams on my channel already. When I'm cell shading, it's easier to talk because it doesn't take up so much brain power, so I can kind of more have a conversation. Although I think I'm doing okay talking right now, even though I'm mostly thinking about what I'm drawing, which I used to really struggle with talking and drawing at the same time, but I guess because I've done it a few times over the past few months, I've been doing it more often. It's like a skill that you kind of naturally develop. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for saying I'm fast. I feel like I'm not, but I don't know. I guess everyone's kind of natural to be self-critical. But plus, I think if I was like animating stuff that was more like character animation, like human forms, and it was more specific, or it had lip sync, stuff like that, I would be way slower. But since this stuff's a little bit more abstract and surreal, like I just feel less fussy about it, and I can just kind of make it more punk rock, just kind of rock and roll with it a little bit. Yes, this animating is my career. Completely independent. I don't work for any studios or anything. But even like people who do studio work are almost like freelancers because the jobs tend to be so short-lived. You're kind of always hustling to find the next gig. You know, like if you work on a project for 3 years, then that's considered stability. But like in other careers, you know, it would be crazy if you were wanting to work at a company long term and your long term plan was to stay there for 2 or 3 years. That would not seem very long by conventional standards. But I'm just kind of, I enjoy having freedom of time. There's definitely other psychological stresses that come along with being your own boss, being self-employed. because you kind of have to like find work all the time. But that's why I'm also trying to develop products, digital products like animation loops that people can buy. I make it once, animate it once, but then it's on my website forever for people to purchase to use in their Twitch streams and music videos and YouTube videos, live streams, VJ sets, etc. So yeah, just like any kind of thing you're working on, figure out ways you can repurpose it, repackage it if you're a freelancer, because it helps to kind of protect against the feast or famine nature of freelancing, where sometimes you'll have a bunch of projects, other times you'll have weeks and even months where you kind of have nothing. So you definitely want to have other ways to generate some income to help pay the bills. But everything is hard, but I'm also like grateful that I can even be doing this right now. So just try not to freak out too much. I know everyone is struggling, so I consider myself very lucky, and yeah, so I'm just trying my best. Trying my best not to freak out. Sometimes for doing these in-between parts, I like to have the onion skinning on where it shows the next frame, which is orange right now, and it shows the previous 2 frames. That way I can see where I'm heading, but also kind of keep in mind the previous 2 frames, so I can see like the easing in and out in between different frames, so I can kind of make sure I'm picking up speed when I want to or slowing down when I want to. If I just had it on to show the previous frame and the next frame, you don't really get the context of the speed. So it helps to have at least the previous 2 frames on, so you can see the previous 2 lines of frames, and make sure that you're not gonna have a bunch of stuttering and weird spacing. And then of course, just check the animation often. Oh, be careful, don't. I hope your foot's okay, or your cat's okay, or both. I love cats, they're my favorite. Oh man, okay. Doobie doobie doo. Kind of just bouncing in between animating different aspects of this. It's like sometimes it's like doing like a drawing where you don't add all the, well obviously I'm drawing, but like if you were drawing or painting where you like fill in different phases, but you don't like paint just one tree and super detailed and then go on to like the clouds or whatever. You kind of get the whole thing in, gradually start filling in the thing in different phases. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is just like jumping around a little bit between these different sections, as like if I get bored with one section, kind of keeps it fresh to just kind of, like I was getting kind of bored with the hat there and I already know where the hat's going, so now I want to figure out the jaw down here, and I didn't know what I was going to do with the jaw, but now I know I want the jaw to be kind of like he's going to be biting and squashing down here. So that's why I'm focusing on the jaw a little bit now. Yes, I'm self-taught, no art school, but in a way, no one is truly self-taught, because you learn by learning. Well, I don't know what I'm saying here. Like Yeah. Well, I guess that means you are self-taught because you teach yourself. Yeah. But no, I didn't go to college. But I did go to the Kansas City Art Institute well, once, not for classes, but my friend's friend was going there for animation, so I just decided to take a look around, and they showed me all their facilities and everything like that, and I just kind of paid attention to what they were learning from, and I saw the Animator Survival Kit was like the main book, so I just kind of like just paid attention to what the tools for teaching were, and then I just got the book for Christmas, and yeah, just learned through that book and eventually online tutorials. But when I was learning animation, there actually wasn't that much resources online yet. YouTube was still in its infancy, so it was very much trial and error. I wonder if this guy should have a middle line here. I guess that makes it look more like the Freddy character if he has that middle line. Freddy something. Guess I could add this line. It also helps show the form more, so I'll have it kind of curving here. I think I like that middle line. It's not too expensive on my time to add this middle line. It does help it to look more 3D. So I'm curving it now, imagining this as a 3D object. Then it'll whip around in the opposite direction. It's like you have to imagine this curve, this shape here on his snout. Like if there were more lines, it would be like this. Then maybe around here it would start to curve in the opposite direction, curve even more towards the end. So that's just, you have to get used to thinking about these wire frames that would be inside these shapes. That helps a lot with 2D animation. Just one line can make the difference between something looking flat and something looking 3D. So this is literally just one curved line in the middle here that suddenly transforms this from being a flat shape to looking like it has more form. Now we'll see how this looks in motion. Doobie doobie doo. Doobie doobie doo. Oh, thank you for the kind words, Angel Wallflower. I appreciate the kind words. And thank you for anyone who's commented, and also sorry if I sometimes take a while to respond. Sometimes I will look at the thing when I remember to, but please don't be offended if I don't respond right away, but I'll always try to eventually respond. But it's nothing personal if I don't respond for a while. It just means that I'm in the zone and I wasn't paying attention. I think I've gotten better at this. The first live stream I did, I don't think I ever talked to the comments. I don't even know if I ever looked at it until maybe the very, very end. And then I was responding to people who were on there 2 hours ago. And of course, by that time, there was like 2 people watching. So everything's a learning process. Okay. Have this one curving there. This one curving there. This one curving there. So, I don't know how long I've been going now. This is what I've done in however long I've been going. It's not perfect. Some wonky stuff with the eyes right around here. Right here. Like I said before, pay special attention to eyeballs. Zoom in a little bit. You can see how these eyes are coming into each other. These pupils will be glowing red. That's what's up. Okay, let's see here. That'll be like the pupils pushing against the outer part of the eye, almost like the pupils pushing the eye's action here. Boom. And right now this is on 8 frames a second. So the whole loop will actually be on 15 frames a second. So when I add in-betweens, there'll be twice as many frames. But the timing will be the same as it is now, because 8 frames is half of 15. Well, technically it would be 16, but it doesn't really matter. More or less, this is half the frame rate of what the final outputted animation will be. But I've actually, you know what? I don't know if maybe I should animate this on 12 frames a second. So I usually keep it on 15 for live performance stuff, but this is for a YouTube video. So it might not matter. It could potentially be less work, or maybe even 10 frames a second, and I wouldn't need in-betweens if it looked good. But it's a little risky, because 10 frames is basically like threes, which would, if this was 24 frames a second, that would be 8 frames. 8 is times 3 is 24. If it's the file format is 30 frames a second, then animating on threes would be 10 frames per second, because that'd be 3 exposures per frame. 10 times 3 is 30. So it's the same concept, it's just slightly different. You can notice like it'll look a little different. But I might, when I get further on this, send the client the roughs and see if they're okay with this slightly lower frame rate. And then I could potentially avoid adding in-betweens. But the in-betweens do help smooth things out sometimes. I'll just have to make sure that these frames are all going good. I know I'm gonna need in-betweens between here and there stuff, but might need an in-between somewhere around here. See how this feels now. Oh, the pinner tablet I use is a Wacom 22 HD. But there's a lot of alternatives. I got this back when Wacom was pretty much the only thing you could use that was like decent quality. But there's so many alternatives now. I don't think they have a monopoly on the tablet game anymore. Just draw straight in between here. What's up, Angie K? Thank you for stopping by. Whew, getting a little tired. Worry about the teeth later. Okay, let's see here. Have his jaw kind of come out more protruding to the side here, so I can kind of anticipate the opposite direction it's about to shoot out in. That feels a little better. Now there's issues with the head going on here. The cheek kind of start to compress. The cranium will be a little more solid, but the cheek will have more squash in it. Just need to correct some of this. Have the cheek squash out more. Feeling this. Spacing will get a little tighter on the cranium up here. Kind of slowly working on some different course ideas. I only have one course out so far, how to animate fire. It's on my website, animatedloop.com. I think it's like $15 right now. And it also comes with like 30 animated fire loops that you can use in your own projects, royalty free. And so like another course I thought would be really cool would be like all about making animated loops and how to sell them. So it would be like both an animation course but also a business course, because there's a lot of applications you can use loops for. Like you can obviously do freelancing with them, and concerts and live visuals always want them, but then there's also like commercial type stuff that could use loops. So there's definitely a demand for it, and different styles that you might be able to do that people would be interested in. So I do more kind of trippy stuff, but like the concept of making loops is the same regardless of style. So I could show more of my process for making a loop from start to finish, and the specific file types to export as, and how even to like set up your online shop if you wanted to sell your own loops. Basically to show my entire business model, because there are a lot of animation courses out that show like how to do the fundamentals of animating, but not necessarily a lot of different ways that you can monetize that animation, because we live in a world where you basically have to make money to live. So it seems like a natural progression to show some more pragmatic uses. I don't know if that's smart, because then it's like, am I creating more competition for myself? But I think that it's such a big market that it would be all right. Because I didn't really even know that like making loops was a thing for anything until like 2016. I was working on a music video for Moon Duo, and I just reached out to them on Facebook, linked to my animation reel, and told them how much I loved their music, and asked if they'd ever be interested in like some trippy 2D animation for one of their songs. It just so happened that they were interested, and that music video, Cold Fear, it actually went on to Adult Swim on their, I think it's called Off the Air, in 2016 or 2017. And it was from there that the producer guy on Adult Swim actually reached out to me from that music video and said that he has someone who is interested in animated loops for live tour visuals for Incubus. And so that was literally the start of making animated loops, and I didn't even know that was a concept. Like I knew about animation cycles, obviously, like doing a walk cycle, which is the same thing if like you're making a animation that cycles or loops seamlessly. But I didn't realize that, especially in the music industry, there is like a whole ecosystem of animated loops. So it expanded my mind that animation can be more than just music videos or short films or like TV shows, etc. And I guess I've been obsessed with animating loops ever since, and I just like how fast you can make a project. Like it's still a lot of work, and like I feel like I've been even working on this specific loop for a long time, even though it's just been maybe a couple hours. But like you can spend a couple days on a loop and have a finished project, whereas if you were making a short film, I mean, that could take 3 months or longer. So I'm very interested in doing things that can be done quickly, and you can have more experience points gained from completing different projects. And now, like when I do music videos, I'll often make the music videos out of loops. So it's like these loops are like Lego blocks that you're building, but once you're done with the loop, it's like you're not really done with it because you can still use it in like unlimited projects. You can put it over different backgrounds, add different effects to it, duplicate it, morph it around. There's like so many cool things you can do with a loop beyond just simply looping it. It's really as limited as your own imagination. Oh boy. Yeah, I know $15 is probably too cheap for a course, but thing is, lots of animators are broke and people that want to learn. The full price is like $69. Sometimes it sold when I sold it for half that much, $33. But right now I just have it for $15. So if you want to learn how to animate 2D fire, go to animatedloop.com, click on courses, and you'll see my only course that I have there, which is the fire course, which I need to get more courses up. But yeah, it's just hard to prioritize that right now. But I guess another future course will be the water course, natural extension of fire. Definitely some staccato movements. I guess it's how eyes do move, those sort of these staccato things, but kind of want the pupils to be going more smoothly. So I'm just gonna have the spacing be a little bit more even. Make sure that the arc is a little bit better. Just kind of moving this around a little bit. This one ease into that pose more. Doobie doobie doo. Where? So have one more pose here. It'll be like the final pose that the stretch eases into. We'll even have the pupils stretch up a little bit. Basically all the pieces will be going up just a little bit, up and to the side. Eyebrows will be going up just a bit. Cheeks coming up. So it's cushioning into this final pose. Oh, I love everything. I love animating, even though it can be headache inducing at times. Everything that's worthwhile is hard. Amazing to see how far your process has come. I remember watching when you were drawing on paper for each and every frame. Wow, that was a long time ago. Thank you for sticking with me. The first paper animation I did was in 2009. And then I did like 3 or 4 more music videos. Or actually more than that, like 6 more, 7 on paper before I finally got a drawing program. I definitely don't miss scanning hundreds of drawings into the computer. But I am working on some paper animations. In the background, I'm using Copic markers and I'm going to put it on my website and sell the actual animation frames, which I've never done before, in case people want to own a physical drawing. So that's the thing about digital is there's no physical drawing to show for it. Like, I guess the good thing about that is if my house got hit by a tornado, all my art would be okay because it's all on a Dropbox and like online. But there's no physical artifact to show for it either. So I'm kind of getting back into analog. Not as a replacement for digital, but just to play around with more mediums. Plus I have like 72 Copic markers that I've just been not using, and I feel guilty about that. Oh yeah, I'm glad you like the Pokemon music. Some people said they couldn't hear it, but glad you can hear it. Supposedly it's copyright free. So we'll see if my stream gets hit with a bunch of copyright strikes. If it doesn't, then I know that I can use more of these types of soundtracks and be okay. Because it's nice to have some ambient music going on instead of just hearing my ambient room noise. This back face will be mostly in the shadows to figure out some way to make the colors darker, but where you can still tell the face is what it is. Turn my light box off now. Okay, the Pokemon music could be louder. That's good to know. I did have it down super low because I was afraid. You know, I guess it's probably better to have it too low than too loud, but I'll definitely turn it up on future streams on the YouTubes. Okay, I definitely need an in-between here. These eyes will look less derpy when they're glowing, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to flip all of these horizontally and continue kind of refining it, but I'll probably notice more wonkiness when I flip it horizontally. It kind of helps you look at things with a fresh pair of eyeballs. How many frames do you use? Are you talking about frame rate? Right now it's on 10 frames per second. But if I add in-betweens, I'll put it on 15 frames a second. And in terms of how many frames I have drawn right now, there's like 24. But as you can see, they're not all finished. Oh, it's a rainy day. Ay, 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 ay. Pretty much just gonna focus on this part of the head turn today and worry about the happy face later. Probably send this to the client to make sure they're okay with the direction before I spend too much more time on this. It's the worst thing to do is to get really far on something and then have to change stuff. This eye pushing out a little bit more so it comes down, compresses. So it's not, you shouldn't be too precious with any one drawing because you might have to erase parts or change stuff later. It's all about just getting some lines in. Okay. Whew, my eyes are getting fuzzy. think I might be getting close to needing a break. I'll finish this bear behind, the happy bear behind. Is gonna continue his arc. You know, the nose is kind of going in this kind of arc situation. So I'll have the nose follow through. Eye's gonna get real skinny here, start to disappear. Now the face is gonna come in, start to get real skinnier. Okay, I'm gonna need it in between here. Ooh, that's going up. I see here. Right. A dual in between here. So just be a straight in between, not favoring any one frame. It's just kind of coming into a evenly spaced motion now. I might add another in between this one and the next pose to make it ease in more. But for now, I'm just doing a straight in between. It's called the halving method, where you just add more in-betweens and you just keep putting stuff completely in the middle, but it creates a natural easing in and easing out just by virtue of there being more frames to cushion in between the motion. Well, actually, let's go back to 8 frames a second. So this is on 8 frames a second. That would probably be too slow for what they want, but I might have to add in-betweens, and then there'll be twice as many drawings. This is kind of gonna end up being a lot of drawings for the amount that they're paying me. And I don't have the ability to repurpose this loop. Okay, I think these eyes are tracking a little better now. Still some issues, but whatever. Should have drawn a guideline for these eyes. Definitely need an in between here. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of focus on the eyes. I know there's still some issues with the eyes, but the general timing of the head turn I'm pretty happy with. There's some kind of jittery issues with some of the in-betweens that I'll fix around later when I feel like it, but I'm pretty happy with this general motion coming in here. And then I'm gonna figure out what I'm doing later. But yeah, thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the animation tutorials on my channel and the music videos. And I did a wedding animation. I was the best man for my friend's wedding. You can see that. It's just on my channel, Mikey Buzan Animation on YouTube. It's just called Storytime Wedding Animation, and I think it's like the last kind of project I worked on. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next time I stream. So I'll see you later.